Hello, math students. This is Victoria, and this is section 6.2. I would wish I could say otherwise, but I think this is probably one of the more confusing and difficult topics in this course, to add and subtract rational functions. Now, if you are really comfortable and good at adding and subtracting fractions, this won't be so hard for you, but in my experience, a lot of folks aren't. So my idea here is to do a couple examples and then encourage you to practice lots of examples so that you're really comfortable doing these types of problems. In this section, we will talk about the least common denominator because we need that to add and subtract. And we'll actually do some adding and subtracting. So just a short preview here. If I was adding, let's see, if I was going to add 1/2 plus 2/4, and I wasn't going to use my calculator, I was going to just do it in my head. What I do is I look for something, a common denominator, the lowest common denominator. And 2 and 4 both have a denominator, they both divide evenly into 4. So what I would do is I'd rewrite these fractions. The 2/4 is fine. It has the denominator 4 that I'm looking for, but the 1/2 is not. And I'd have to rewrite it as fourths. So a little aside over here. Let me say that 1/2, and I want to convert it to some number of fourths, right? So I'm going to say 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 1 is 2. So 1/2 is equal to 2/4. Once I have common denominators, I just add them together. 2 plus 2 is 4. And I don't touch the denominators. It's 4/4, or in this case, 1. So when we're adding and subtracting fractions, we look for a common denominator, we convert everything to that denominator, and then we just add the numerators. To find the least common denominator, if we just had numbers like what I just did, let's say I had 8 and 4 and 6, I could look at its multiples and find the first time that they have a common multiple. So if I'm skip counting my 8s, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, and I do the same with 4 and 6, I'm going to find that the first time that they have a common multiple is in fact 24. Now if I'm down here and I'm looking at these being my factors, I've got m squared minus 16, m squared plus 8m plus 16, and 4. I'm going to break this into its least common, its factors. This is going to be m minus 4 and m plus 4. This one's going to factor into m plus 4 times m plus 4. And this one's just going to be, of course, 4. And so to find the place where they all start to have the same multiple, it's going to be the smallest one that they all have in common. So I'm going to have an m minus 4, because I've got to have that part in here. I'm going to have an m plus 4, and I've got to have it twice because there's 2 of them there. And I'm going to have 4. So that's the first time that they'll all have a common multiple. It's really the same thing that we did up here. So let's go ahead and do some adding and subtracting, actually. So here's my problem. I've got 3 different factors or terms here. I've got 4 over x minus 5, a minus 2 over x, and subtracting 10 over x squared minus 5x. So let's look at where my LCM would be, my least common multiple. I've got an x minus 5. That's got to be part of it. I've got an x. And then this denominator right here, I could rewrite that as 5 times x minus 5. So then I've already got those factors in there. So all I'm going to have to do is, that's going to be it. So I've got 5 times x minus 5. So let's go ahead and rewrite each one of these with a common denominator. So let's start by just, this is what I'm starting with. I've got a 4 over, oh my, take my time and do this better. 4 over x minus 5 plus negative 2 over x minus 10 over x times x minus 5. So what I'd like to have is all of these denominators to be the same. So this one is missing the x part. But I can't just multiply it down there. I'm going to have to put it up here, because then that's really multiplying by 1. X over x is 1. So now I've got that set up. This one is missing the x minus 5. So whatever I do in the numerator, whatever I do in the denominator, I'm going to have to multiply this top by x minus 5. And this last term is fine. I don't have to do anything with it. So now you can see that everything is in a common denominator. I've got an x minus 5 times x here, and x minus 5 times x here, and an x minus 5 times x here. So they're all common. What's in my numerator here? I had to add that x, so this is going to be 4x. And this is going to be minus 2 times x minus 5. So let's spread that out. Let's distribute it. Minus 2x plus 10. And this one's going to be, let's just change that from a plus to a minus, because it should be a minus. Minus 10. All right, now I am ready to finish this problem. So once I have all my denominators the same, I can just put everything over that common denominator. Let's fix that up. X minus 5. And everything in the top, we can just put it together. So I've got 4x minus 2x plus 10 minus 10. And as you can see here, those 10s will cancel, and my final answer is going to be, and these are actually like terms here, so I can combine this and get 2x. So I'm going to have 2x over x times x minus 5. And again, I've got another thing I can cancel here. These two x's will cancel out, and I'll get a final answer of 2 over x minus 5. And that's my final answer. So let's just review what I did here. We started out with this particular problem here. And then we found our least common denominator here. We converted everything to that least common denominator. And then we combined like terms and we got this as our final answer. Take the time to do lots of practice problems. Use Solve a Hint on MyMathLab if you need it. Call me if I can help you, and good luck with this section.